Hey, Fitzy here, back at it again with another one. I'm here now today finishing up that Datsun. Last thing I had left is she had two bad rear mounts, and this is all I had to go by. So I ended up making two new mounts. I wanted to have both of them identical, so I made both of them at the same time. I'm going to show how I done that. Stick around. Before we get started, I just want to thank everybody who has subscribed and liked and shared the videos. Greatly appreciated. I want you to check out my merchandise. Go over to Teespring at Fitzy's Fabrications and have a look at it. You'll also see it at the bottom of each video on YouTube. It comes across the screen there. So pop over and pick up a shirt, a mug, a sticker. Help support the channel. Okay, since the last time you saw this, I had a rocker and a door and everything done on it over on this side here. I went ahead and finished off the other side on the truck. Got this door done, new bottom in it, new rocker. I wasn't going to go through that again. It's the exact same thing as what I did on the other side, so you know the video was basically the same. There was a lot of small things I had to do on this cab. Like, it was amazing, like the little pieces I had to put in it here and there. All over the place on the bloody thing, like here. I had to put the bombs in these here. I still haven't got no fenders for it. So, and like, you know, there was a small piece I had to put in here. It was a very unusual piece up there, right? In the floors, I went and finished the floors off. I had to finish off the piece here, piece here, piece here. And as you could tell from what I done, I removed the two rear mounts. They were gone and replaced everything. So now the entire cab, I even welded up a couple of small holes here. Like this floor looks rusty, but it's solid. Like down here, I welded pieces in them down here, and that's all solid. It's just a coating of rust on everything, so I'm going to leave that up to the customer to clean all that up. So all I got left to do on this cab now, I got everything welded up. I had a number of things I had to weld up on it. So I've gotten to the point now where the cab's done other than these two mounts. All right? So what we're going to do here now today is we're going to go ahead and start building a set of new mounts. So this is what I got. This is the one mount that I had. This is the remains of it, of what I got left, right there. So what I'm going to do, I got to build two of these. So a lot of times you build panels, you make one, you put it on the car, you finish it, and then you turn around and then you go to try to make the second one. And then it runs into troubles because you can't remember how you done this or what that measurement was or what that looked like there. And it doesn't always look the same. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to build two of these at the same time because I want two of them to look like they're the same. They're generic left and rights. Like you can use them on both sides. So I'm going to go ahead and build two of these together, one side by side, and go through a process of that. I've had a lot of responses asking about these casters and what they are and whatnot. So I'm going to show you here now exactly what they're made of and how I went about making them. As you can see, all it is a regular set of caster wheels. I bought them at Princess Auto. Nothing spectacular, nothing like this. And all this is here is scrap pieces of 2x4 that I had kicking around, and I cut them to length. Now you need a lot of 2x4s to do it, as you can see. And all I did is I put a layer on the bottom, 1, 2, 3, and then went 1, 2, 3 across this way, one screw down through. These are very long screws, so every piece of board got two screws in it from the one above and the one below. So like there's one screw in there, one in there, one in there, and then when you come up here, there's one in here, and so on, right? So there's a lot of screws in it. I wasn't going to get carried away because the way it was going to be screwed together. And then the top layer is just 3 side by side. Instead of them there, and I got 2 stops put on them. And as you can see, and I got a block in the middle, that's just there for support. It really didn't need to be there. What I end up doing then, I end up drilling it down here on the bottom side and putting 3 screws on either end to keep that mounted to that so it doesn't move around. As you can see, it's 2x4s are the size of the platform. Now, it works fantastic. I can get underneath the car, set you up here, and it's very easy to move around. So I can push it in out of the way. Right, go from side to side. So it works great, and you're up high. So it's great for when you're doing a project. I figured a few of you want to see that, so I'd show that to you. So what I got here, I got a piece of 14 gauge steel. I picked up a number, this is a number of years ago. There were end scraps off a project someone was doing, and I picked up a load of them. Again, like, I use everything recyclable I can find. Sheet of steel, price steel now has really gone through the roof, and I hold on to everything I can find. If I comes across a panel that is workable, that I can use on anything, doing body work or anything like that, I just assume pick it up and use it. See a lot of guys going out and buying steel and buying large sheets and stuff like that, but I will, when I does the Toyota, I'm going to have to buy sheets for that because I got to do large floor sections in it. But for smaller projects, scrap steel is always the best way to go with it, because you can always find a small scrap piece around. Going out and buying a full sheet of steel to build these. But anyway, what I'm going to do now first is I'm going to build the first platform section, this section here. I'm just going to cut two pieces off of this, same size. I'm going to put two bends in them and have them so that they look identical, lay them side by side and get that much done first. Not going to overthink this. I got a width here, and I got a length that comes up here, bends up, and the height is on this here section here. You can see it here. Now this comes up to here, so I'm going to take the full length of it and I'll trim this out when it's all said and done. So I'll measure from here to here, and that will be my length, and then my width will be here, and I'll cut out two pieces like that. Now I got two pieces cut out, two were identical. I can't stress it enough that every time that when you make a project and you're doing a project, best sand the panel before you start doing any bending or any shaping to it at all, because you're eventually going to be painting this panel, and once it's all shaped, it's going to be harder to sand and prep. At least now, when you got to sand it, it's all ready so you can paint it and whatnot. All I done is I stripped it because this got like a scale on it. So all I stripped it with was this 24 grinding disc on a pad, and sometimes you can probably use a flap wheel. I use that as well. Nah, I hate them. I got them there, and I still, I don't know. I prefer these over. This is my last one I got here. I got to run out and pick up some today. And I'm on my last one, so they're worn down pretty good. But that's all you do, is you clean them up, both sides, get them all ready before you do any fabrication work to them. Clean your panels first. Now once I got them all cleaned up, I put two of them in the vise, clamped them side by side, and then I sanded all the edges here to make sure that both of them are the same size. Because you know, you're cutting with a grinder, you're not going to be precise as you want to be, so you clamp them together. If you're doing multiples, 3 and 4 pieces at a time, what I end up doing, I'll end up welding them together, and then I'll dress them all so they all looks the same. But for this one here, all I got is just 2 of them. So now I'm going to mark it and bend the 2 of them at the same time. Now I went ahead and I marked each one on either outside edge, 4 inches down, because that's where I want it to bend. And I'll put them in there and line them up on side by side, and then line up the 2 marks where I want it to go. Like so. And just bend it to them at the same time. Now I got 2 of them made, and I test fit them on the truck and make sure that they fit properly down on the bottom side down here. And I tweaked them a bit so they'd fit nice, as you can see. Right. And the ends of that there got to be cut off after. We're going to leave that alone for now. So now the next thing I got to do is do the second piece now, which is this piece here, which is so high. But I want to go off this measurement here, and I'll cut this down after the fact. And I played around with it when I took the piece and sized it up and put it in place there and measured up. I had about 1 inch on the inside here height. So, and then I took my seamstress tape, right? That's all I use for that. And I measured around here and came up with 6 inches. So I need to cut 2 of them out So I come over here and I marked off a strip 12 inches long, a little more than 12 inches because I took the thickness of the blade in. What I'll do is I'll cut this off here now, this piece here, cut this out, cut it in half, and then I'll have my 2 strips for that. Did I ever tell you that a 9 upside down looks like a 6? Oh my. First ones, second ones. I make that mistake every now and again. Gets bad when you get into numbers like 43 and he ends up cutting off 34. I think we all done that. I'm human. Okay, what I went and did then, I took the 2 pieces after I cleaned them up and welded 2 of them together after I cut them the right length. I measured off 6 inches with the tape, thinking it was 6 inches, but it was really 9 inches. So I had to recut them again. Right. That's 6 inches, that's 9 inches. I don't know how I got that wrong. Anyway, I turned around then and I welded the ends of them together so 2 of them are one piece. Then I went and took a straight edge and straightened off that edge there so 2 of them are the same on this here. Then I took some measurements off of this here. I took a straight edge, put across there, and I measured the distance up and down here. And I transferred that over to here. That's that distance there. You can see the line from here to here. Then I transferred, see how far this here came down to where it tapered off to that measurement again, which was 1 3/4 inches. And I measured over from either end, 1 3/4 inches, and just drew a diagonal line. I'm not going to worry about putting the shape in it yet. What I'm looking to do is get 2 pieces cut out, the same now, with the straight angles. And then I'll dress the ends so they'll look nicer on the end of it. So now all I'll do is I'll just take that there, and where I got them lines cut, marked on that, I'll turn around and I'll cut that out. Now that I got it cut out, I'm going to turn around and I'm going to round these edges up like it's on this piece there. You can see the way it just tapers back and then it swoops up. I'm going to do the same thing here. I'll taper this back and let it swoop up a bit on both sides, and I'll do that with the grinder right here. I'll dress that up with that there and I'll clean it all up so I can get both of them look the same. Now I went ahead, radius these ends up on it when they were welded together, dressed them all up, and then I grind the ends off them, and so now I got 2. So that's how you that would be my plasma table. Yeah, so I turned around and I got them ready to go. So now I got to duplicate this round section here like that, get 2 of them looking the same. You can go ahead and start building a whole bunch of pieces, but you start getting overwhelmed with stuff because when it comes time to fit it all together, stuff is not going to fit just so. So what I like to do is I like to do it 1 step at a time. I got this piece made, so I'm going to make this piece and attach the 2 of them. So I'll do 2 at the same time. I got 2 of these made at the same time. I got these 2 now made, and I'm going to attach 2 of these to this here, weld them on, dress them, finish them, done. And then I'll move on to this piece here then. And I got that bent around that, and I used this old end tube off an old 9-inch Ford, laid it on that, rolled it around it, until I got it to fit like that. And that's all I used. Use a piece of pipe, same size diameter. If you look at this here, this is pretty close to the diameter of that there. So I said, yeah, that'll work. So I'll roll that around that there now and get that done. And I'll do the same with the other one and get 2 of them looking the same. And then I'll be ready to weld them onto the mounts. Now I went ahead and I tweaked 2 of them and laid them on top of each other. So now that I had 2 of them, and 2 of them are the same size, right? And the same shape and got the same bends on it. You'd never do that if you made 1 and try to make the second one. You'd be fighting with it. It'll come out okay, but at least this way now I got 2 that are the same now. So now I'll set them up on this here and get them welded on. And I got 2 of them. Played around here. I'm at it 5-10 minutes here now. I went and trimmed up the corners here on both sides so they'll fit in the rolled edge in here. So that'll fit in there. And that'll fit in there. Like so. So now I'll position the 2 of them on them 2 plates and I'll tack weld them around, and then I'll go ahead, I'll finish welding all this up and I'll grind and dress all this and have it done. right? Because you get too much of it done, you're grinding, you want to finish it all off. At least now I'm taking this through the stages. This will be finished. So I'll go ahead now and I'll tack that together and I'll show you what it looks like. There they are, all welded up. I made full passes with them, about an inch apart, inch and a half apart, all the way around. I do a circular motion when I do my welding. Some of there's going to be grinded off anyway. But with my welder, when I'm welding, I'm doing a circular motion like this. A lot of people has different ways of doing it. That's the way I do it. Some fellas does the C, and some fellas just makes a pass. I like the circular motion because you get a nicer pattern when you're laying it down, like right there. Right? Gets a nicer pattern like that there, see? And this is 023 wire. A lot of people keep asking me that when I'm doing projects, so I should be saying it on every video. 023 wire. The settings I turned on this here, I went according to the gauge on it and put it up on 14, and I turned the wire speed up a little tiny bit. I usually have it about 60, 65, somewhere in that range there. I only turned it to 70, so I never really moved it. When I'm usually welding sheet metal, 22 gauge over here, this light stuff is down here, and it only moves a small bit. Like you see there, that's the difference between 18 gauge and thin metal on this machine. It's very, very sensitive, right? Like this here says 18 gauge here. You'll blow holes if you put it there. I has to put it down here. I has to keep it below 3. Any more than above 3, I'll start blowing holes. But I have this set over here on 8, which is in the 14 range, for welding this up. 023 wire. And it's just regular CO2 gas. I don't have a mix. That's all it is on it. I keep forgetting that in every video because I keep getting asked the same questions over and over again about what size wire am I using and what my welder settings are. Again, if you go to my I have a video on welding. Welding machines are different. You can't go according if you got a different machine. If you got this exact same machine, fine, these settings will work for you. But if you got a Lincoln or something, these settings won't work because each machine is different. You can see that in that other video. I'll have the link in the description below. Okay, I went ahead and measured from here to here and here to here, roughly about 3.5 inches. So I cut out 2 square patches, like this here, 3.5 inches wide, and then I cut them and rounded them out. I did one first, and then laid it on top of the other, and then scribed it, so the two of them are the same, and then that's the first part of it. And what did I use to scribe it? Was the top off the 3-inch tube, belonged to the 9-inch housing. I did that last time in the last video. Now, a few of you have probably seen me going with a grinder before, but I'm going to show you now how to cut round edges with a grinder. Now the first thing you're going to get into is you're not going to cut it directly. You're going to cut, instead of cutting this way through it to cut it down, like most times when you cut metal, you cut down and you cut along it that way. This here, you're going to cut the whole top and work your way down through. And you're just going to take your time, just the weight of the grinder. First thing I do is I scribe it, so now I've got a line. Now there's an edge there, and all I'll do is I'll lay my cutting edge into that, and I'll just keep rolling it along it, like that. Drawing that edge there, and I'll just keep doing that, working my way around it. All I'm using is the very bottom of the cutting wheel. Like you would think this big large item, you wouldn't be able to turn it around corners, but you take a small area like this, you can cut it. And that's just a quick cut. I never took anything else off it, but it's a round corner and it's cut with a grinder. If you really want to take your time, you can cut full circles. Pretty crazy shapes and everything, but it's not that hard once you get a hang of using a grinder. I got two of them clamped in there. Bottom edge here is good and the bottom edge here is good. So now all I'll do now is I'll just shape that. I'll use the other one and I'll grind to it. If you watched my last video, you see me welding a piece of plate to this here and shaping it around to get the angles off the back side, like here on the mount. When you look at the mount, this mount rises up, so this oval's around here. Now the problem with this, the back mounts are smaller than the front mounts. So I went and got a smaller diameter pipe. As you can see, it's not as big as that one. So I'm going to use this one here for the same process. Square it up. I'm going to lay that on there. Square it up. I'm going to weld that on there, and then I'm going to shape this around the top edge here on this here, banging this down around here to get this to flow around. That's all I did. I just welded it on the one end. If you look at it now, the way it is, what I'll do now is I'll use the pipe to shape it, and I'll hammer this down around here so we'll get the round look like it's going on in here. So this will taper up from here and away from that there for the mount. This is the extent of what I did. Just hammered it around the edge here and forced it over the end of the pipe to get the shape of it. So now I got the nice little mounting section and it tapers off on either side. Okay, I got two of them made up. I cleaned them up. Well, that's the mistake I made. I told you before about cleaning up the metal beforehand. I never on two of these. Now look what I'm into. Trying to clean that up. But I'll manage. But that's one of the reasons why I say you should sand down your metal first, get it all prepped for paint, so that way you don't have to worry about it after. Now I gotta work harder now to try to clean all this up after it's all done. But I'm gonna leave it alone for now. I got ahead of myself. I was having too much fun shaping metal. But now, what I got to do now is you can't notice it on these as much on that piece, but you can notice it on the factory one and the one I made. This little step out, okay? I gotta notch this down here for the step on both sides. You see that there? That there notches. It goes right on down through it. So I gotta make them notches in that mounts first before I fit anything in there. Because that'll go in there and then this here gotta be notched. So I'm thinking I should notch these two panels first and have that done and over with. Okay, I went ahead and I got one of them here bent up, and all I did is I cut a slot in the bottom, just so it'll give this a bit of relief to go from it. And you can see I put an indent in it, like so. And how I did that, on the other video I think I had square stock, I got nothing here. So I used this piece of angle iron. All I did is I clamped it in place where I wanted it, and I tack welded it on a couple of spots so I could hold on to it. I'll take this over the vise now and pound this in to the vise. And I had the vise opened up, the outside lip, which is this section here. This is the width of the vise. I'll show you over here. And that's the way that will go, like that. And then I'll just pound down into that, and I'll get that shape. Don't be afraid of twisting it up, because we got to dolly it after the fact. So I'll cut it off there now and shape that up. A little bit out of shape, and I'll work it back in there now. And just clamp it just outside them areas. And I'll dial them up as I'm going. There you have it. Clean that up there now. And all I'll do is I'll cut this down here and I'll re-weld this across here. And then I'll dolly it a bit better than that. And then I can cut this notch out of these now. So that'll fit in there better. Like on the original mounts, they're notched back. So I went and marked them now. And I'll cut them out so the notches are done. And I'll have that done. So I went ahead and I notched it out. The back side, so fit in it. I welded up the back of these where I cut it, split it. So now all I'm going to do is I'm going to weld that in there like so. And you're going to end up with this here, all welded up. And so all I'll do now is I'll finish welding this one up, get this one all welded up, and then I'm going to grind two of them up. Don't know if I ever showed anybody, but yeah, I always had noticed I use a lot of these 24 grit grinding discs. I like these for the simple fact I bought a larger ones. This was around that big at one point. And I got different backing pads, and eventually I'll get down and I'll just use two of them together, like so, and just keep trimming them down. All I do, if you look closely at them, is the very outer edge of them now is worn off them. There's nothing on the outer edge of that. All I'll do is I'll come in 3/8 of an or a quarter of an inch, 1/8 of an inch, whatever, and I'll trim that right around with a pair of tin snips. That's all I'll do with it. I'll keep cutting that much off it every time, and now I got a new disc. There you got two mounts. Got them all cleaned up, ready to go. There's the original one that came out of it. All I got to do now is I got to drill two holes here, and then I got to drill this one here and here, two little recess holes because they're like from factory, and then put some spot weld holes in it and ready to go. On the back side now, after I drill it, I got to cut a round circle on this because I got to drive the floor down into this here after the fact. But what I'm going to do first is mark for the two holes in that there and put them there so I can set that up for that, for the mount. And drill them two holes, 1/8 right down through it, so then I'll know exactly where the center's to. A lot of times, everything I do, I drill 1/8 hole first. No matter what it is, a 1/8 hole. A lot of people try to drill, like just take a hole, tap it, and then put a quarter bit down through it. I always put a 1/8 hole, 1/8 drill bit down through first. I've always done it. Everything I've ever done, doing spot welds, if I was drilling out a spot weld, I'll drill them all out with a 1/8 bit first. I won't try to drill them out with a quarter bit. It just bounces around. Even center punching them and using a quarter bit, yeah, right, you could probably get away with it, make it work. But I've always found it easier to use like a 1/8 bit and then start going up in sizes and drill bits. Easy as that. All I went and did on the back side here, I just drilled two holes in it and drilled it out with a larger drill bit. And I'm going to shape the rest of it with die grinder. I got two of them done, and them holes are drilled out bigger. So now what I got to do, as you can see there, I got it marked. I got to cut the center out of that, and I'm just going to do that with a grinder. I'm going to cut it out so much in a square block, and then I'll use some of my old stones. These ones here, I got smaller stones that'll fit in there. As you can see over here on the wall, it holds on to everything. You can see up here, I got all kinds of sizes, different sizes. It holds on to everything. They're all old ones, old cutting wheels. Holds on to everything. Throws nothing out. It can all be used. Because some days I might run out of a disc and I'll just start using up all these small ones, put them on the grinder and use them till I get a chance to go get a new one. But for now, I'm going to cut that out and start dressing it. That's all I did. Cut an X through it, and I just cut around the edges of it. And I'll just take that down, I'll just break them out of there. And I'll shape the rest with the grinder. I got them out of the way. I'll just take the little stone here. I'll just start cutting that back there, cutting it around, drilling it, you know, grind it back till I got a nice round edge on it. Some of you are looking at me saying, Tony, why don't you just get a hole saw and cut a hole in it? I don't have a hole saw. This is how I do it. I just never had no, well, like every time I look at them, they're on sale. I should get a set of them. No, never bothers. But anyway, I'm going to grind these up here now. There it is. All grinded out. All I went and did is use the stone on it. Just went up with different sizes. You can see I got a different size stones so it'll fit in there. Got a lot of old stuff kicking around. I've always made do with what I had around. It's nice to have all the proper tools. But when you don't have them, what do? There was a time that nobody had Snap-on. Nobody had, you know, all them big fancy tools. Someone had to make stuff work. And the quality of cars that were built back 100 years ago were a lot better than what they are today. So, you know, you can only imagine the tools that were used back then to build stuff. A lot of it was homemade. As you can see, I got all my spot welds done with a 1/8 drill bit. I've always done it this way. Everybody just wants to sit down and start drilling out quarter holes. A 1/8 drill bit makes life a lot easier because now your bit got a hole to follow. So there you have two body mounts that are pretty well identical. You know, it's going to be very hard to look at each one and say, okay, that's a little bit different there and that's a little bit different there. But, you know, you turn them sideways, everything, right? Backwards. Okay. So, it's a lot better when you make them together, because if you had to make one and then try to make the second one, it'd be kind of hard. If you follow a procedure of like 1, 2, 3 pieces at a time, like, you know, do one piece, put a piece on it, like I've talked about before in videos, make the 2 pieces one and then move on to the next one. And that way you can duplicate your pieces. You can probably go ahead and start cutting all the pieces out first and have them all ready to go, but I prefer to make a piece, weld it on, and then make this piece after the fact, because sometimes if you make a piece and you haven't got it welded in place, because I had to tweak these little outer lips a little tiny bit when I got them in there, so it changed the way they would have laid down, right? So all I got to do now is I got to install them on the truck, and I'm finished with that truck. But I'm going to leave this one here because it's more of the same, and hope the tips were good, and until next time. For inspection. How'd you do, bud? Did I do a good job, or? Did I do a good job? Did I?